Good morning, church. There's this great verse in Job 39, 26. It says, "Does the hawk fly by his wisdom? Does the eagle mount up at your command?" And you go, what in the world are you talking about, Pastor Stan? I was recently out hunting the last few days of deer season and sitting in a tree stand. Love my little tree stand I sit in. Giant oak tree to my back. And this rush of wind and flap of wings went right by my ear. I felt the breeze off the wings of a hawk that was swooping in to take a squirrel off a tree. The squirrels had come out of the trees and were starting to scurry around on the ground, and some hawk decided it was time for lunch and came swooping in as fast as he could, and he turned his claws up. The squirrel was on the side of the pine tree, and just as that hawk got there, that squirrel moved so fast to the other side of that tree, the hawk ends up plowing into the tree and then banking off to the right, and I was just fascinated by it. And then I remembered, I said, man, I just read a verse about a hawk the other day, Lord. What was that? So sitting in the tree stand, enjoying the beauty of everything, hoping for some venison to walk by. I got my Bible and I started looking and finally found that verse. And I began to reflect on it sitting in that stand. That hawk doesn't fly by his own wisdom, nor does the eagle fly by his own wisdom. What I learned was that the Lord himself is in charge of those things. The Lord himself is in charge of those things, of every bird's flight. You talk about a detailed God. Man, I sat there thinking, I was watching at one point, I counted 8 cardinals, mostly males and a few females. So it was a beautiful bunch of red birds down on the ground, working through the grass, looking for little kernels of corn and nuggets. And then a whole bunch of blue jays came in and got up in the middle of all of them, all the same family of birds, but they're all mixed in together. And a giant woodpecker that's always with them was on a tree right there by them. He was doing his banging on the tree, and a whole bunch of little tiny birds that I don't know what they're called, little tiny brown birds, flew in, got all up in the midst of all this. And I thought, I'm just in one little place in the woods, in the middle of South Alabama, tiny little spot of land. And there's probably 40 birds on the ground right now doing their chirping, doing their scratching, looking around, flying up and out of the trees, in and out, back and forth. The Lord details all that. They don't mount up with wings by themselves. They don't have wisdom of their own. It's given to them by their Creator. And I remember John 15, apart from Christ, we can do absolutely nothing. So I just wanted to remind you today to be thinking about how detailed a good, faithful God we have. That every bird you see flying is flying on his wisdom. Hopefully every follower of Christ is living on his wisdom today. Let's follow his plan. Let's seek after him and trust in him. And we'll give him the glory and the praise for all of that forever and ever. Amen. Clear in the New Testament, Jesus says, you can look at the birds and the lilies and figure out how faithful a God we have. So let's do that today. You guys be blessed. Keep walking with him. See you soon.